All right, everyone, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that can feel, well, pretty heavy, but it's so important. We're talking about how to have real, honest conversations about mental health and suicide. Now, stick with me here because we are going to break this all down into simple, practical stuff that can genuinely make a huge difference for you and for your mates.
Okay, so first things first, the single biggest wall we run into is something called stigma. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a really thick fog rolling in. You know how that makes everything confusing, hard to see, and just worse than it actually is? Well, that's stigma. It's built up from old habits, old fears, and a ton of misunderstanding. It's the reason it feels so hard to talk about what's really going on in our heads.
So the million-dollar question is, how do we actually clear that fog, right? How do we cut through all that confusion and see things clearly so we can actually start helping each other? Well, that is exactly what we're about to get into.
And we've got a super clear game plan. First, we'll take a closer look at that fog of stigma. Then, we are gonna bust 3 massive myths that keep us quiet. After that, I'm gonna arm you with a conversational toolkit. We'll also cover your rights and some key resources. And we'll wrap up by showing you how you can actually change the culture around you.
So part 1, the fog of stigma. Let's be real about why it's so tough to open up, especially in our line of work. In apprenticeships, there's this massive pressure, isn't there? You've got to be competent, you've got to be a grafter, you've just got to get on with it. No one wants to be seen as the weak link. And that pressure, it makes it feel almost impossible to put your hand up and say, you know what, I'm actually really struggling. And here's the twist. We think staying quiet and just toughing it out is what protects us, what keeps our reputation safe. But it's the total opposite. In a hands-on job, if your head isn't in the game because you're fighting a battle no one can see, that's when things get dangerous. That's when accidents happen. Silence isn't your shield, it's a massive safety risk.
Which brings us right to our next section, busting 3 big myths. Seriously, it is time to take a sledgehammer to these old, unhelpful ideas that keep us all quiet and keep that fog of stigma hanging around.
Okay, let's tackle the biggest one right out of the gate. This idea that if you ask someone about suicide, you're going to somehow plant the idea in their head. That is it's absolutely not true. The reality, asking a direct, caring question can be a massive relief for someone. It shows them you're not scared and that you're strong enough to hear whatever they need to say. For example, saying something like, "This looks really weighty. Are you thinking about ending your life?" Yeah, it's direct, but notice how it's also gentle. It's not an accusation, it's an open door. It's giving someone permission to finally put down a heavy burden they've been carrying all by themselves. And myth number 2, the idea that people who talk about suicide are just being dramatic or looking for attention. Nope, what's really happening is they're signaling that they're in real pain, often in the only way they know how. You know, it might even come out as a really dark joke, because sometimes laughing feels safer than crying. Our job is to just hear that signal, to take it seriously, but to do it calmly.
And the third big one, and this is especially for the lads out there, this myth that real strength means being a rock, stoic, silent. That's not strength, that's just a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Real strength, true strength, is having the guts to turn to a mate and just say, you know what, this is hard.
Okay, so we've smashed the myths, but what do you actually do? Well, welcome to your conversational toolkit. We're getting super practical now, with simple tools you can literally start using the second this is over. And the framework is so simple you can't forget it. It's just 3 steps. 1, ask openly. 2, listen fully. And 3, know where to point. That's it. Ask, listen, point. Easy as that.
So let's look at step 1, asking openly. How you ask makes all the difference in the world. You could ask the blame question, what's wrong with you? Which, let's be honest, is going to slam the door shut immediately. Or you could ask an open question. What's happened that's made things this tough? You feel that difference? One points a finger, the other opens a door.
And hey, if you ever get stuck, if your mind just goes totally blank, think of this as your conversational cheat sheet. Honestly, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I don't know exactly what to say, but I'm here. It's not about having the perfect script, it's just about showing up for them.
So you've asked and you've listened. Now for that final step, pointing them towards help. And this brings us to section 4, rights and resources. Because the support network out there for you and your friends, it's way bigger than you probably think.
First things first, you need to know your rights. Your mental health is protected. That means you can ask your employer or your college for what's called reasonable adjustments, maybe things like flexible hours for a bit, and you don't have to share every single private detail of what's going on.
Now for that support network. First up, Samaritans. The number is 116-123. This service is frankly legendary. It is free, it is 100% confidential, and it's there for you 24/7. You can call about absolutely anything that's on your mind. They're not there to give advice, they're simply there to listen. Next up is Shout. You just text them on 85258. This is a total game changer, especially for those times when you just cannot bring yourself to speak out loud. Maybe you're on a crowded train, or you just don't want anyone to overhear. You can have a whole conversation over text with a trained volunteer who will listen without any judgment. Then there's the Mind Info line on 0300 123 3393. Think of these guys as your mental health information hub. They are brilliant for getting clear, practical advice about specific conditions, different treatments, and where you can find local help, either for you or for someone you're worried about.
And never, ever forget the NHS. Just call 111. This is your direct line to get urgent local mental health support. If you or someone else is in a crisis and needs help fast, but it's not quite a 999 emergency, they will assess the situation and get you to the right service in your area, right then and there.
Okay, final section. This is where we bring it all home. Part 5, you can change the culture. See, this isn't just about reacting when things get bad. This is about creating a culture where it's less likely for things to get that bad in the first place. And you have so much more power to do that than you realize. In this big change, it happens in tiny, everyday moments. Imagine a mate says they're totally wiped out. You've got a choice. You can hit them with the dismissal, mate, others have it worse. Or you can offer a connection. That sounds really tough. Want to grab 5 minutes? It's such a simple choice, but it changes everything. And here's the absolute key takeaway. Every single time you choose that connection over the dismissal, you are actively remaking the culture. You are clearing away a little bit more of that fog. You're making the world a bit safer for everyone around you.
So I'll leave you with this one question. This isn't about going out and solving everything at once. It's about starting small. So what's one small conversation you can start this week? Maybe it's just checking in on a mate and asking them how they're really doing. That one tiny act, that could be the start of a massive change. Thanks for listening.